thank everyone for being here this evening, and we'll start the meeting, County Council, July 17th, 2012, with prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, you are holy, and you hold the reins back, and you let them loose, and you know exactly what we need, and we look to you for everything that we have and will ever be. We thank you for this opportunity to serve the people of Tipton County. We thank you for each one of its residents, and we ask that you be with us and give us wisdom in everything that we do and everything that we say. For it's in Christ's name. Amen. All right. First item on the agenda is Tipton County Solid Waste. And Beth Purcell, you have a request. Beth, you want to explain?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm the director of the Tipton County Solid Waste, and on April 11th, the city of Tipton made a request for money to assist from our budget to assist the recycling program. That was April 11th. May 3rd, our board had a special meeting and made an approval. May 5th, we advertised our legal. June 14th, we had our public hearing, and I sent the packets to the DLGF. One document, a certified copy, I inadvertently thought was submitted online, because you filled it out. They sent my packet back after 14 days and said that that needed to be printed out and everything needed to be sent U.S. mail. So I did that the same day and sent it back. They received it on July 2nd, which was one day late from the new law. So now I'm under your jurisdiction. On the 13th, I talked to Judy at my budget workshop about this issue after we were done with our other work. And then she recommended I talk to Dan Jones, and I didn't reach him on Friday, but I did talk to him on Monday. He's the assistant director of the DLGF. And he said, unfortunately, it isn't as easy as just allowing you to make a motion, that we need to re-advertise, set another public hearing for the same monies, even though the public will probably think we're appropriating another $20,000. But the law changed July 1, and he thought, he said, I wouldn't believe how many other cases like this he had on his desk, and not to feel bad, because I had told him I was searching at home to see if I'd even gone to college, you know. But this process is quite difficult, as some of you probably know. So I'm here at your mercy to ask you to approve me to advertise for this money for the Tipton, city of Tipton, to assist them in curbside recycling and to set our public hearing so that I can advertise. And I gave you a copy of the Indiana Code and the minutes of where my board made recommendation to do this. And if you have any other questions, a couple of my board members are here, and I can try to answer what you need to know.
Beth, what's your balance in your funds? Do you know what your balance is, where this come from?
Yes, it comes from our rainy day, and our prudent reserve is at Star Bank, and we have about 200,000.
We've got plenty to cover.
Yes, and I discussed that with Judy at my workshop also. And for a brief moment, Dan Jones was saying, just go to the council meeting and ask for their blessing, and then the more we talked, he thought we should just cover our bases and go for it again. And
Well, if we're going to do it, we have to do it by the process.
he said everybody was confused, including them. Let's not put that in. I apologize, and I said I'll make sure that that second legal ad comes out of my next paycheck, and he goes, let's not go overboard here. He goes, what is it, like $8?
Anybody have any questions from Beth?
I got one. Why would the county put 20,000 towards it when it only affects about a third of the county, just as the city of Tipton? Did it come out?
Well, we are not a county entity. We serve the whole entire county, and the board made that decision, and we probably have to ask them.
'Cause I noticed on my property tax statements this year, my solid waste went up 18% on Bear Farm ground. And it seems like that was a bit of a concern.
I don't know about that. All I know is I get 1.4 cents on the $100 assessed value. And the average household that is not a farmer who makes their business off of their property pays about $24 a year for the services we offer.
It just, because it kind of bothered me too when we have the tire thing and all the farmers are excluded from that too, but we pay for it. And I know that's by code, but it's.
Actually, we have a tire trailer, and I'm trying to get sponsors to do a tire day, and I am accepting tires from farmers for a small fee. A tractor tire costs $65 to recycle, and I can't take those for free. I would only be able to serve a handful of people. I do have some sponsors, and I was working with Elizabeth Wessel, and we think we can sponsor a trailer. Then the sponsors would bring their tires first. The farmers are not excluded. You may bring your residential tires. It's your tires that you make your living on, a business. It would be no different than if I took all of Ramsey's e-waste, all of their copiers. The money the state has allocated for me is for residential waste production.
Any other questions from Beth?
I have one. Beth, can you explain what this $20,000 is going to do with the city of Tipton? Is this toward the new recycling truck, or?
It's to, what the board asked me to do is to further their curbside recycling efforts.
I mean, is this just going to the city? I mean, is it for payroll?
They did
Is it
just,
for-
no, they did just buy a new vehicle, but there's a little glitch in the law that our money should not go for anything with wheels.
So what's this money going for then?
It's going to further the recycling program.
General fund.
Okay, yeah, are we just writing a check from solid waste to the city of Tipton, basically, for them to help fund their program, which would be payroll and everything?
I believe it's going to go to.
Cost and services.
Yeah.
This is a common thing for the city to make a request, or the county to make requests. It's kind of unusual.
I did check with my Solid Waste Association, which is a state organization, and this happens quite a bit. The little part that private industry doesn't like is if we help them compete against private industry. But our city of Tipton trash has never been privatized, so there really isn't that competition clause to worry about there. I do believe that it's being used for the truck. And the city of Lafayette, I believe, was sued over this by a large waste company, and the city won. Because this money is to help. And, the city may be a smaller portion of the county population-wise, but they support the recycling efforts to a great deal. And that's what we're to do, is to divert what goes to the landfill, not burn it, not bury it, and they help us achieve our goals with the state.
Well, I'm glad that they've been able to keep their service going. I know when they bought the first recycling truck,
changed the whole thing from sorting at the curb to commingle. And that's what the industry has been doing for over 10 years. So that labor has been, that they've used is outdated, and it makes it easier for the taxpayer. And our contractor takes it that way. So I think it's more efficient and better use of the money all around. And now that they have the commingled, we're going to help them promote commingled, and we've added some things that can be recycled. So.
Anybody else have any questions or comments, Beth?
I make a motion that we advertise for the additional appropriation for the solid district waste of $20,000.
Second.
Thank you, Brad. It's been moved and seconded to advertise for the $20,000 for solid waste. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
I have to abstain.
Okay. Well, thank you, Beth.
Now, I do have a question. Do I go ahead and prepare and do the legal, or do I have Greg do that?
I think Greg will do that.
So I can give you all my notes from when I did it last month.
Okay. Hey, just as a footnote, I remember Beth has been doing this for more years than she's been doing it. I mean, she's been doing it a long time. She used to come to the Boys and Girls Club back in the mid-90s and do classes for the kids. And it's a passion of hers, and we appreciate what you do. It's a long time you've been doing it, and you've made a difference.
Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's a calling.
Yeah.
Nobody chooses us in their right mind.
All right, we'll move on to Terry Newcomb. Terry's not here, is she?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
She went on this.
Oh, she went on to, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll go to the next item, and then we will catch Terry when she comes in. Is that all right, everybody? So we have Jackie Clemens. She's going to report on finances of Tipton County.
I'm going to bring you copies of the reports that I've already presented to the Board of Commissioners. They've had 2 meetings, so there are 2 reports here. And we really have accomplished quite a bit in the past 4 weeks. On the first one, the first update, at your request, I went through the seeded funds first. Just going back and looking at those funds and making sure that there was a lot of concern by this board that things weren't where they were supposed to be. You can see the report, I'm not going to go through it in detail, but we have balanced the seeded fund and it is in good shape. And then I met with the commissioners and we've talked about changing the scope of work. It's a little different from the original scope. In the original scope, we thought that the ledgers were out of balance. The ledgers are not out of balance. They're in balance between both offices and have been. What's out of balance, other than some things that have been deposited into wrong accounts, when they're deposited in a wrong account in the auditor's office, it goes to the wrong account in the treasurer's office. So we're looking for those things, and we've found some issues there. But what's actually out of balance is the ledgers to the bank. And when Suzanne Miller was here, she was helping the treasurer's office balance her cash book to the bank. And that's the actual money to her cash book. She has got that done through December and I believe January of this year. And Bonita is now working on her cash book to the bank, but no one still has touched the ledgers to the cash book or to the bank. So as of today, that's kind of what I've started today, is working on ensuring that everything that's in the bank, in fact, has been receipted in to a fund, and everything that's receipted into the fund is actually what went into the bank. It's a very detailed process, and it's gonna take some time because there was so much backdating of receipts when things were found missing. So we're there. But we are working on it and we're getting there. The update that I took to the commissioners this week has stemmed a lot on the 911 funds. And as you know, it reported at last meeting, that fund had to be combined, and it had a huge negative balance in the fund. And so that was one that we went to pretty quickly because we knew we needed to combine the fund. You'll see in the report, there were some monies, and this really kind of all stemmed from the State Board of Accounts audit that informed the county they couldn't transfer money from one fund to another. And so when the 16-line form was done in the 2010 budget, everything was combined on the 16-line form, but the revenue wasn't all in the same place. And so when we appropriated the money in the 911 fund, in the landline fund, we actually appropriated more than the revenue that was coming in. We were anticipating using the rainy day fund, but never was any expenditures requested to come out of that fund. And so that's how this fund got in the negative balance. Wasn't overspent at all from where you appropriated it. The appropriations all stayed within the amount that was appropriated. It's just the money wasn't requested to be spent out of the correct fund. And so because there was not enough revenue going in, it was $204,000 short at the end of 11. And by the time, the end of June, it was $233,000. You'll see, I did a lot of research and found that the money from the city started in one place, went to another, jumped back and forth a little bit on what fund it was going to. And so that it wasn't consistent, and it went over, a lot of it went into county general. And again, this was all anticipated revenue in the budget process. And then there, after speaking with Beth, I found a reimbursable grant where they purchased some equipment in December of last year. The money came in this year, the reimbursement came in this year, and it too was deposited into county general instead of going into the 911 fund, which is where it was paid from. So that is being corrected. That one is being corrected. On the July 16th report, you can see I did a spreadsheet of where the money, the city's share of the money went to since July of 2010. So you can kind of see where it went awry. It also shows a way to get the fund back in the black before the end of this year. I've met with the auditor and president of commissioners and the 911 director. We then met with the joint dispatch board, and the commissioners are going to be making a recommendation to you that was recommended to them by that board on a way to get this fund back in the black before the end of the year and move us forward. There also is some money that the extra pageant and PTR money that the county received this year that was 2011 money was deposited into county general. This is something that's going to have to be taken out of county general and put into rainy day. The statute is very clear that when you get excess revenue from a previous year, it has to go in rainy day. And so that's number 9 on page 2 of the July 16th report. I've looked at the settlement fund, and the settlement fund is in the negative. I only looked at this year because I switched over to get the banks going. The June settlement is 30 cents over dispersed. It was a check that was written for $792 instead of $762 to the state. We'll fix that 30 cents at fall settlement. But there's still a $1,300 negative balance in that fund. So we're going to have to go back to last year's settlements and see either what didn't get received into the fund or what was over dispersed in that fund. And we'll be able to get that taken care of, and we'll balance that out before the end of, with the December settlement this year. I've worked with Greg on receiving money. We spent the day, one day last week, receiving money. He's working on learning all the places that the EFTs can come from. And so, you know, there's a change in that and how they're doing it. I've also done a lot of training with the staff. We've done 101 claim vouchers. We've done 101 correcting errors. We've worked on transferring of deeds. We've worked on just payroll. We've worked on just everything. And as I'm in there, they're constantly asking great questions and learning some new things and learning why they're doing what they're doing, not just taking someone's word that something needs changed. So heads up, if you go in there and want them to make a change or ask them for something, it's going to be a little bit different than what you've had in the past. They know new reports, they know new procedures, and Greg's put out some new procedures, and so there's a whole new atmosphere in the office that you'll see, and they're excited about learning how to do it and how to do it right, and doing really a great job. They're asking great questions. So, any questions from any of you? That's pretty much my report.
Thank you.
Commissioners have some to add to that as well. It's 16.
All right, any other, for Jackie? No comments? Mary's still not here. We'll move on to the next one. Board of Commissioners.
Okay, I've got 4 different issues. You want them one at a time to deal with them?
That was in our folder.
The requests are in your folder, yes.
Well, she's not here.
Oh, I need to talk to her.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Will you want to do me again?
Sure.
Okay, so that will have to wait.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I throw a comment in real quick? These forms that were in our packet, is there any way that you could scan those and send them to us with our agenda or email?
Yes, yes, that could be done. I prepared those this afternoon, and I will do that in the future.
Well, I know that I got an agenda yesterday, and there have been 2 things added to it since then. And these, it's hard to come prepared or research anything. I'm not gonna be very good about discussing this when I haven't seen it until now, so, I don't know what you're gonna ask for, but
Yeah, you do.
I don't either. Do you know? Does she know? All right, what's the first one, Phil?
First one is, we'll take the easy one first. As Jackie was telling you, we have, the commissioners did vote to make a recommendation to you that you transfer the check in amount of $83,333.30 from county general and deposit it in the newly created statewide 9/11 fund.
I give you the motion, I'll make that. This is some of the money that we had earmarked before that we spent. And Jackie's got, she found more than what we had, so I'll make a motion that we approve that request.
All right. Second, all those in favor?
This is one of the things that we discussed at the 911 board meeting on Friday. And the only thing that, when we left the meeting, and Dennis was there, and I, as far as the council.
I have that amount. I'm sorry, I do have that amount.
Well, and
Go ahead.
go ahead. I said was, I think the council will be interested in how the status of the general fund, if we're gonna take 83,000 out of it, you know, where does that leave us in the general fund?
Understandably, I just looked at the part, I took the balance that's in the general fund today. There was $2 million in there. And if you subtract the required things that have to come out, the rainy day, the 33,000 that have to come out because they're in the wrong place, and this amount, you have 1.79 million in county general. And I apologize, I have that.
And how does that set up with what we've got allocated for the rest of the year, though?
I have not compared the budget.
Okay.
Because I think that's gonna be a little difficult because I don't know, we haven't looked at the appropriations to make sure the appropriations are where they need to be.
When is the DLGF workshop?
They have the workshop already. But she's gonna come back and work with us, and Greg and I have already started on budgets.
Shoot that on the 25th.
Yeah, Greg and I have started on estimated revenues already for budgets, so.
Anybody else have any questions or comments, discussion about $83,333.32? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Next one is to address corrections of errors in revenue posting and to provide for needed funding of the 911 center. The Tipton County Commissioners recommend approval by the Tipton County Council for additional appropriations in the rainy day fund for the remainder of Fund 156 appropriations as follows. Director Training Officer, $16,626.88. Supervisor, $461.56. IDAX Coordinator, $692.34. Trainer, $461.56. Part-time, $20,795.62. Overtime, $8,640.75. FICA, $3,700. Group medical insurance, $38,586.63. Service supplier is $43,679.89 for a total of $133,645.23.
And then at this time, we will not be using Fund 156, correct?
That's correct. Well, it's now 12/22.
Well, okay, 12/22 now, so nothing else will come out there.
And if you notice on the spreadsheet that I gave you, down at the bottom of the third page, it starts with the negative 55,000, and it shows the revenues coming in at the anticipated amounts. This is the state-funded amount that they're guaranteeing the county, the 18,900, and the 8,300 obviously is the cities. And by the end of the year, you're back up to a black balance.
I make a motion that we advertise the additional appropriation.
And this is exactly what's left in those line items.
A second.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Thanks, Suzanne. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Next one is the one that you guys tabled last month. I'm here to request additional appropriation for the payment for DLZ for the ADA compliance survey. I'm asking that you vote on to advertise for the next meeting for an amount of $36,500. This is a county general expense.
Any questions for this council about this?
We did go ahead and okay the contract because we thought that it was something that needed happening. We also have the next one that was Maximus, which I think you guys can't disagree that it needed to be corrected as soon as possible. We know that you had appropriated the money. We thought it needed to be done, so we did what we thought needed, and we're asking you to commit to your part to help us with appropriating the money.
I have a question, Jackie. With that we have to wait
There's
for
no
the,
edit that went into rainy day.
or not edit, I mean,
Catch-up.
catch-up, TRC.
Yeah, that's,
We don't have to wait for the state to tell us we can, I mean, it's, once it went to the rainy day, it's an overage, like, the extra that
it's
they
in
said.
it's in the rainy day.
We can additional appropriate from there. Okay.
Yeah, I know we brought this up last meeting, but and you state that you feel it's a general fund expenditure. I don't know, I'm not really comfortable right now, additional appropriating out of the general fund until we get a little bit more comfortable with the balance and the projected expenditures we have left. So,
I'm asking you to advertise for it, that gives you another month for Jackie to find out where we're at.
I know you asked for the advertising, but you have to be specific about where you're gonna advertise it coming from. I'm not in favor of it coming out of the general fund, okay? So if we're gonna advertise it, I'd like to consider a different source. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, because I would rather spend money in some other location because we don't have a good balance on the general fund. So we've got, like, discussed the potential of the rainy day fund. I know we asked, there was discussion earlier about edit, and apparently we've got a decent edit accounting now.
We are committed, if you guys don't appropriate the money, we will have to pay for it out of edit, which the fund we have is what we have committed to the highway department.
Do we have a current plan for the edit, the CIP that?
What is this?
Because I know the council appropriates into different categories depending on your projects, but the commissioners are the ones that, you know, decide on those projects. So if you feel that you would like to use the highway money, that's your prerogative as the commissioners. But I did read in the paper, and I don't think it's too accurate or too fair to the council to put us in the position of appearing to be the bad guy on taking the highway money. So if I'll just take a brief moment here and look at the update that was provided. Look at update number 1, the fund balance and edit. At the end of 11, it had $623,000. And you don't want us to potentially use $36,000 of it for this ADA compliance issue. You're gonna take that maybe from the highway. So that's the commissioner's decision on how you wanna prioritize that edit. So I don't think it's fair to throw it back on the council and say that we didn't give you money and made you do other things. There's a lot of money in there. So to make us appear to be the bad guy is not well received by me. But there are potential sources of that to be spent.
We have $100,000 appropriated for the highway department. We have approximately $86,000 left in Project 52, which if with our new Ligo Corporation will be approximately for 6 months is like $45,000. Plus Linda's salary is another $18,000, which we're plus or minus $15,000 to $20,000 in that fund. Our Project 56, we have around $109,000 left with projected expenses of like $108,000 for the rest of this year. Next year, the Project 56 is going to be $500 and some thousand. We do get reimbursed for that, which has to come back to you guys for reappropriation. We don't have any other monies appropriated in our capital improvement plan.
Phil, speaking specifically about that project, line item 52,
Yes.
so there is $84,000 in there, and the two figures, the 45 and the 18, that equals 63.
Okay.
So if you take 84, you subtract 63, that's 19,000.
Okay.
That's $19,000 that you don't have anything targeted for yet. It's extra. The total that you started the year with, that Brad just mentioned, it's a lot of money. I kind of agree with Brad a little bit of, I'd like to look at some other alternatives, and if the council has some other alternatives, but I like that idea of doing that.
All I'm requesting is for additional appropriation.
But once again, by having this on the desk tonight at 5 till 7 doesn't help me.
But Brad, we talked about this 30 days ago at your last meeting. This is exactly the same request as it was 30 days ago. You've had 30 days with the same information. So don't tell me you haven't known that. You guys voted to table it last time. It's on your minutes.
We have voted to take it off the table.
That's true.
Was there any consideration from the commissioner to go ahead and create a new project and edit this ADA thing's going to stay with us for a while? Is it something we need to?
The ADA compliance survey should be done this year. They started, they're already in the county, they're already doing their evaluations, they will be done this year.
But the whole thing will not just be a survey, there'll be more.
There will be a recommendation of what we have to do, then we have to come up with a plan of action, and we're talking big money, so, correct.
Bill, did you guys look into grant monies available for this particular project?
Did I? No.
There were some monies available from the state.
I'd be welcome if you got the info, or whatever.
I wrote a grant for Randolph County, and they started the process. They were awarded the grant, and there are monies available for that.
That's good to know.
Was the comment made yesterday at the commissioners meeting that if we did not make this appropriation from a different location than edit, that you would use the highway money? Was that the comment?
The comment was, we could not give the highway the $100,000 until we knew for sure what we were committed for. Even if we would spend the project 52, it's not enough to cover both of the additional county expenses. So we can't commit, tell them to go ahead and spend it until we know what we're gonna get to spend the money.
Would it be possible to look at that 19 that's left over and then try to find the remainder of the 17 somewhere else in another project? Is that possible?
Anything's possible, Scott. This is a county expense, so I really think it needs to come out of the county budget. It's your guys' decision whether you appropriate it or not. We're just requesting it. We deem the contract is necessary, we need to go forward with it. Now we're asking for your participation.
Well, I know, but the discussion when you signed the contract was that you would use edit money.
We know if you didn't appropriate it, we have to use that money. That's all we have to go with.
I think it should come from the county funds. These are something special. No one, especially the Maximus.
We'll talk about it next. We're talking about the ADA survey now.
Okay, but with both of them together, but I just think that they should be either county general or rainy day.
I don't like county general. I mean, I don't mind rainy day, but I just don't know the county generals. Right now, in the current situation that we don't know what we have, is the proper place to work out in.
And that's why I was asking Jackie about the Cadget and PTRC, because we didn't expect that. That was something that none of us expected to come back to us. And I agree with Penny that I'm concerned about the ADA, the ongoing, and if anything stays with Ed, I think that has more so than what the Maximus. The Maximus not in compliance with that, who's gonna, you know, those are things that people look at when they come to the community. So, I mean, if we don't have the money to do both, but I do feel that the maximum needs to.
Is that money all needed up front?
What?
Is the money needed all up front? Is it, what's the payment schedule for that bill?
Whenever they send us a bill, we will, I don't know if they're gonna bill us as they go, or if they will wait till they're done. I think they will wait until they get the surveys done.
And how long is that projected to take?
I can't tell you, Scott, I don't know.
So it could be a year,
No, it will not be here. It will
it'd
be
be
done
6
this year.
months of this year?
Hopefully, it'll be done. I talked to the guys today.
What'd they tell you?
Huh?
What'd they tell you?
They can't give me a guesstimate because they don't know what they find. They have been through the courthouse. It took today to do the first floor, which they measure everything, they write down their findings, and then they'll give us what we're out of compliance.
So that
They also are redoing the wall, like the elevator in the courthouse is out of compliance with the new wall. But it was in before the ADA compliance came in, so they are doing the research to see whether it has to be an expensive remodel or where we can maintain the existing courthouse. So they're doing everything they're going through. They're contracted for amount of money, the quicker they get it done, the more profit they make. No, I can't answer when they'll be done. They could not tell me when they'd be done. The fairgrounds is gonna be a big issue.
So did they, what do you have, you have a contract in writing then, you've signed a contract?
Yes,
You've signed a contract?
Yes.
And it spells out the particulars,
yes.
but it doesn't say when they're gonna be complete, just gives a dollar figure?
You have a dollar figure, and. I
Anything
don't-
else in the scope of work that you?
There is a scope of work.
Jackie, do we know what the rainy day balance is? The only thing we appropriated before today was the 232 for EMS.
Yeah, she may know because of that. And we've not spent any, there was what, 305,000 or something for the,
I calculated it.
that we didn't spend last year in 911, so it's got to fall.
I believe, putting these two in it is roughly 600,000.
These two.
The
The 136 and for 134 and the 26. I think there was, maybe not, it won't be quite, it wasn't quite 600, and I apologize.
As of now.
Now, when this goes in there.
Right, bill year. And we appropriated 232, and we spent, not quite half of that appropriation, because there's a few that come in just at the end of the year on that EMS. But we spent probably 40% of that appropriation.
Then we've got 133 here.
I would rather use rainy day. If we have to do it, if we want to do something right now, I'm okay with that, but I just don't, general fund just really worries me that we do any activity there when we don't know where we're at.
Any other comments from council members? Any insight?
I think we're gonna have to pay it because we're compliant to do it. So I don't know just where they're gonna get the money, but I don't think that, I'm not sure that it shouldn't just come out of county general.
Well, we're elected to make these decisions where it comes from.
Well, I support the rainy day fund, advertising for the rainy day fund.
I have a motion. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to advertise for additional appropriation of the Tipton rainy day fund for the amount of $36,500 for the DLG services, DLZ.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Next one is to pay Jackie. If you don't care, she gets paid. The Tipton County Commission to recommend approval for additional appropriation from the county general or whichever fund you deem necessary, an amount of $30,000 for review and correction of accounting in the auditor's office and reconciling with the treasurer's office in Harris Bank, as well as training and instructions in best practice. This is the bill for Maximus. It is the maximum amount is $30,000. It is for their bill for what they are doing. I think this is a county expense. It should come out of county levies also.
Jackie, will there be a draw for pay before?
We'll bill at the end of every month, they'll be getting the bill here shortly.
Okay, so we'll have to pay some out of Project 52, which is what
No,
was
we
approved.
didn't set money.
Are you sure? Because it would be our August meeting.
If we take it out, if we take
We'll
it,
bill you, but,
Okay.
If-
If you can hold it. Okay.
if we take it out of any of the edit money, so
We don't have
you
to.
guys can't,
We don't have
you
to.
can't take general fund money and put it in
No,
our.
and we wouldn't, but we don't have to, she's gonna hold it. I make a motion that we advertise, for $30,000 from rainy day.
Second.
Any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is, oh, yeah, Linda, Tipton County Assessor, Treasurer, and Auditor, comp time. Are you the spokesperson on
Well, I
that?
am, Anita's, we were, 8:15, so she might be coming over, okay?
Oh, okay, well,
If you got someone else,
well, if we can visit. Beth, you want to give us an update on the extension? Is that right? You done that?
Yeah.
She said Anita's going to come.
It's short.
Okay.
I did talk to Terry, you know, we had it advertised for our last meeting, the $3,000, you had talked to us about the meeting before that. However, we did not vote to advertise for an additional appropriation. So we didn't take any action last month. I have talked with her, and this is a one-time only, as far as, she's gonna request a budget time for money in that line. But as far as the reimbursement coming back from, or the aid coming back from Purdue to allow her to keep a part-time, for a part-time person for longer hours, an extended time, they are going to reimburse. She don't know if they're gonna upfront it or if it'll be billed. So I told her I would make the motion tonight to advertise for the additional appropriation into her part-time line, $3,000. She knows that she needs to look at what she's going to work then and how many hours, and she pays roughly $8 an hour, so she can back off Social Security, because I told her the county would not be liable for any. That Purdue's going to be taking $1. And so she will do that. And she was going to try and have a letter ready for you tonight, but she has been so bogged down by the fair, and tonight was a big night. You know, so that's where I would forward it on. She and I talked 2 or 3 times about this, and I feel comfortable with it, and I hope the council will too.
Thanks, Beth. Anybody have any questions, Beth, about this or comments?
I will. Okay, I make a motion that we advertise for $3,000 in the part-time position for the county extension.
All right.
And the general fund.
Adown, second, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. We'll go on to Mr. Bell.
Okay, hopefully in your packet, hoping, is a letter you can just kind of completely ignore. So I'm going to change everything after listening tonight. I'll just give you an overview of kind of bare bones what I need, and we'll talk about anything else in budget time. I have 2 cars that the sheriff donated to EMA. What I need is approval lesson to run those cars, to get license plates and things of that nature, so that we can use the EMA for traffic control, for sitting on scene, so we don't have to have police officers using their time to do that. Potential funeral escorts, again, to free up the city and county officers on their time, things of that nature. Right now, The cars will be painted at donation, so that's not costing me money. The lights have all been donated. The labor to put the lights on are going to be myself and the windfall fire chief. We're going to install the lights, so literally we can get the cars, other than license plates, pretty much for $0. I was going to ask for some maintenance and fuel money, but kind of looking at everything, projecting what I would use them for. Like this month, we would have used them 3 times this month alone. That's sort of a rarity. I think I can get through with what I have in travel money, to be honest with you, for fuel, for the cars, through the end of the year. So I really don't need a whole lot of money to operate them during this year. I just need the blessing to get the license plates and put them on the road after that. So scratch all the money was, which really wasn't a lot. And in the packet, there also should be the SOG, what they're going to be used for, who can use them, how they're going to be used, the limitations on that. It's not going to be take-home cars for anybody. Cars are going to be signed in and out. It's only going to be by EMA personnel. Someone else will be allowed in the vehicles. It's not going to be something that just anyone can come up and use the car for. It'll be pretty much requested by emergency services or utilities or someone like that for those kind of events, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Are all your drivers on the directions plan?
The cars are insurance. Everyone's going to have driver's license check, background check, even joining EMA. From that matter, they're going to have their own full coverage insurance. I've already talked with our insurance company. The cars are covered. There's no change in premium or anything like that through the blanket policy, so that doesn't cost us any more additional money. The really only additional money we're going to have is the license plates, which someone told me that they were free. Someone else told me they were $30. So I haven't even researched that aspect yet until kind of get ready to work at the DMV here. So.
So the total amount,
Yeah, just scratch that. I really don't need whatever the license plates are gonna cost permission to do that, which I probably have that left in the limited budget I had this year. I won't make it work this year with what I have. Come budget time, we'll have different conversations, but for now, I just want permission to get them plated, permission to put them on the road.
I was kind of withholding there for a minute. I wanted to see if anybody else had any comments, but I'm not on the EMA board. I think the EMA board probably looked at this a little bit. But I did make a statement a couple of years ago. We were looking at providing a sheriff's card for the EMA and painting it, making it decals so it didn't look like a sheriff's card, and discussion about how the EMA would use it. I think one thing that really comes to mind, I know that the commissioners set policy and procedure on county issues. We just look at funding. But I do have great concern about the potential exposure the county would have and liability on having people with a vehicle with lights that is representing the county on how they function. And the two things that come to mind, number one is responding to some type of situation if the lights will be on. Not that they're supposed to be, but if they would be. And the other thing is, if they're directing traffic and there's an accident caused by the directing of traffic, is there a liability to the county? What kind of training is going to be in place? How do we know? I think that the bare bones, the issue, the need for that kind of help is there. I would not question that whatsoever. We use a lot of the fire agencies and the police in public safety to do that task. So the need for it is apparent. I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning and just bringing up the issue of how do we control the exposure to the county? How do we minimize, whether it's training or whatever it is, but if we can have an individual who's acting on behalf of the county to get in some type of vehicle and direct traffic and something happens, what kind of liability and how have we tried to contain that and handle that? That's my only issue. When we talked about the cars before, and I brought this up, was I thought it was, to me, it was a two-pronged approach. If the EMA wanted a car or cars, the commissioners would have to grant the permission. And if we were going to keep the sheriff's cars, that's one thing, but it will add cost. You can't tell me it won't add cost. There'll be some tires, there'll be some fuel, there'll be whatever kind of regular running the vehicle cost, which will go into somebody's budget. And if there's money in the EMA budget this year to do that, then we over budgeted. Because we didn't plan on that.
Or underspent.
Or we underspend, okay, I'll give you that. But I really do have, the exposure issue to me is really big. And I know that'll lay back on the commissioners, but when we look at insurance and those kinds of things, I think that's something that's got to be well-defined and researched and understood. So,
I can probably speak on a lot of that. If you look at the previous EMA, they were using their own personal vehicles, so the county exposure was tremendously high on that. Because if I mean, there's a lot of things that went wrong or didn't. Okay, so what I'm gonna say is that as far as the cars go, I did forget to address the decals. They're getting decals at no cost as well. Lights won't be ran on the way to scene therefore visibility personally. As far as the training goes, Howard County has a tremendously huge traffic control division. I'm talking with the EMA director up there. He's willing to do a 4-day, 8-hour training course that they put their same people through up there. Knowing their EMA traffic, they have 5 guys that take home cars. So I'm pretty confident that their EMA traffic division, as far as the training program, is pretty solid from that regard. Another thing that we will have is just the training, I guess, is the biggest part of being up there. I understand what you're saying, you can always control everything that happens, but as far as the training is in, the selection process isn't going to be, hey, I want to join EMA and I want a car. It doesn't quite work that way. Not everyone that even joins EMA will be eligible to drive a car. In the beginning, predominantly, it'll probably just be myself out there directing traffic for a little bit until we can build up that volunteer basis and there's that sort of confidence. And within the EMA board, the commissioners as well, which the EMA board, we are the ones who approve this SOG, and it will probably grow. It's a living document, so as we find more things that we're capable of doing in there, or areas we need to work on, those things will change. So I don't know how to minimize liability altogether. I don't think it's possible. Maybe so.
Well, Chuck, I've got in my general orders that we've got done, I have a thing that tells my guys, this is how you direct traffic, and it steps it right through. If you're not doing it this way, then, that covers us. That covers, if they're not doing it correctly and they're doing something wrong, it's on them. Even though they're working for us, that's what the general orders are supposed to do. They're supposed to protect you. And I think that's what you need, you call them SFGs. I think you need to focus in on this is how we do this is the procedure, everything we do.
And that's how we would take the training from Howard County. And then obviously ongoing training we can rely on the sheriff's department, the police department, and even the fire departments, because every scene is different, so they would want different ways of traffic to be controlled at that time. So it's not going to be just a here's your keys and go. It's not going to be anywhere near that easy.
Zach, I have a question on as far as the volunteers. The liability with them, as far as not their job they're doing, but if something happens to them on their safety side, have you checked to make sure they would be covered under our workman's comp?
We have a, EMA has an insurance policy for $275. It covers up to 15 members. We have one right now, so we're well below that. So I have the physical coverage and everything like that covered.
And it covers for how many?
Up to 15.
Up to 15. And what is that, just like general liability?
It's a general liability, and also, I want to say that there's a small life insurance work under that. It's a pretty decent policy for 15 people.
If I think we need to have that question answered, if they should be covered under workers' comp.
If it's a volunteer, I don't think.
We are.
Okay.
That's what I was.
We are. If I go out and I respond on a truck or if I do anything, once I'm in that, I'm covered.
I will ask that question.
I mean, we don't want anything to happen, but
Right.
I also, if they're out there and something does happen, I want to make sure that we're covering them also.
No problem. That's it.
Where would you anticipate getting your operating money from?
In all honesty, I really only need fuel for the rest of the year, because there's nothing else I'm gonna need. The cars just recently had oil changes, and even the 3 events that we would have responded on, I think the farthest one that I even drove to was 4 miles, so I can't imagine.
You got $3,025 in your 3,000 series. You need to make a line, you need to put some money there. Utilities, radio maintenance, none of those fit.
Right. Well, I have would I not be able to use the fuel out of travel conferences? Is my estimate, was my cost.
Okay.
And that's where I was gonna get the fuel from. As far as license plates, I can't, I don't know, like I said, I've had so many people tell me that they're free, and I get to find out that this says they're free, so.
What year are the cars?
You know, that's a great question. One I think is an '05, I can't remember the other one.
I think they're both, no, I think.
They're a year apart, I know that.
One's like a 5 and 6, I think.
I think it's what it is.
I think they're 5 and 6.
And for
They have 100,000 miles plus on them,
They should have one.
100,000 plus. Give or take.
They run well, they work. And again, I'm not driving them at high speeds, I'm not running traffic with them every day, it's limited use. So I think they're gonna last a while.
I have a question, Chuck, also on your list of responses, it says funeral escorts.
Funeral escorts right now, what the city and county do is if there's funeral processions get through town, they'll escort them out with stopping traffic, making sure they get where they're supposed to, or blocking 19 and Jefferson there, those kind of items. That's not, obviously, a lot of these things wouldn't start the day we put the cars on the road, because that's where I really rely on the city and county to train the guys on how they want it done, how it's done currently. Working also with the funeral home to see how they want it done, what they're most comfortable with. But there's been a few times where they've had a funeral escort, and then there may only be one city or one county guy working, and they get in their details, and how the funeral escort is just kind of, left on their own.
So is that what you would do? You would respond if the.
Or
law
if the city or
enforcement
county,
Or if
even
they're
that we would
short.
just do the forum, so they could be freed up to do, their regular duties throughout the day. Because EMA overall is nothing more than another tool for your paid and volunteer fire and law services, so they can do what it is that they're trained to, instead of sitting waiting for someone to come clear out a tree or something like that.
Howard County has a form that the funeral home can fill out a day ahead of time, and then they can arrange to have the people do the escort through EMA. But it's got to be a day ahead of time to give them that ability to get their volunteer lined out. So
And then if they don't have a volunteer, then that can do that. I mean, because there's quite a few funerals,
Yeah, we catch lights, like if the city's got a big one or something, there's only a couple guys working, well, there's 3 lights. If they're coming from west side town or whatever,
Right.
it takes every guy we got working during the daytime to catch all these lights, stop traffic, make sure nobody runs through it.
Right.
That's where they could assist us tremendously without tying every guy that's on the day shift up. It's a great idea, I just, we gotta get it going. And we just did a roadside safety, last time we went out to Madison Township. We've done Tipton, Sharpsville, Madison Township, Jackson Station, we haven't been invited to the other one yet. We've done a roadside safety thing, how police and fire and EMA work together to block the road so it's safe for everybody. We go out and do that. It's something that I would recommend Chuck puts his guys through this thing before they ever step foot out there. I think Chuck would enjoy it. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours long.
So Chuck, you want to make you're gonna make a request for license plates to be safe, or what? You want
I'd
us to do,
like to
or-
request the permission to do the license plates. I assume I'm gonna have to ask for the money to do that, because I don't necessarily have a line item that it can come out of that I'm aware of, or even how that works for the county. I don't know when the county gets license plates for municipal vehicles, if it all is already kind of figured in that there's already that. I don't know how it works. I don't know if the sheriff pays for his plates or how, or any other, I don't.
Historically, it came out of the commissioner's budget.
Okay.
The money.
We got a municipal plate that the auditor's office ordered for us for the mobile command center. It's sitting on my desk. We traded the mobile command center off.
You know, years ago, they used to be able to transfer those municipal plates too, from one vehicle.
I may have a municipal
As long as
plate
it's
for
state
somebody, I
legit.
mean,
They
it's supposed to be
can't
a
do that
mobile
anymore.
man.
They will allow you to transfer the plate anymore. They can get a new municipal plate.
I wonder if they cost. They didn't used to.
I don't think they
$15,
cost.
$25. It's not much.
It's not a lot, it's a small amount.
So I don't remember paying when we've done our transfer. No, we transferred the sheriff plates. And they let us do it.
But it's a sheriff card, a sheriff card.
Right.
It's not a sheriff card, an EMA card.
Right. But that's
They took that
twice.
And what, I guess inevitably I'm asking for permission, getting ready to put them on the road, because I don't want to, and obviously, a lot of this has been through, or all of this has been through the EMAC Board of Commissioners. I've spoke about it there, I didn't know about that, one motion with them or not. They're the ones who approve the cars, so they're fully aware of everything. And the cars aren't ready, but I'm one of those people that have been looking at them long enough, and I don't want to come up here one day and ask for permission, and they're already sitting with the sheriff's department with lights and stickers and everything on, ready to go. I didn't want to do that. One, I'm already has been paying, to be completely honest with that, but I wasn't gonna pass up free at the time, so.
I don't know if the council really is in our jurisdiction to grant authority. I mean, we grant some money, but,
Since
I
I don't
mean,
need any money.
the permission issue, the residence policy, that's a commissioner issue. I would assume, I don't know that the council would have any say.
It's good that you brought it to our attention so that we know about it, because there will be additional expense and it can affect your budget.
Any other questions while I'm here? I guess consider this a prep for next month. Now, the only other thing is the next almighty that was tabled last week, or last time. Didn't know if you guys give any more thought to that. I did present a letter from everyone that was, be a benefactor from that. Should've seen it there, I thought. Okay.
Yeah, the, money from Nextel, is that right?
Yes.
What was the amount of that, Gary?
It was a total of $7,670.
And the two things we were considering was, one, just putting the whole chunk into EMA, right?
I think that,
And then the other option was to divide that up and go back to all these other places.
correct. Which is, again, their understanding of what was gonna happen with that money when it first happened. And keep in mind, we'll be doing this again next year when the next touch comes through.
Council have any comments or discussion on this? Or questions for Chuck?
I voiced mine last meeting. I thought it should go back to him. I agree, I think it should go back to him.
Any other brave leaders want to step out and invite? So are we done? We run for a motion?
I don't have a strong feeling either way.
I make a motion that the money be given back to the townships according to the breakdown. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to,
But that motion is pretty specific. You said townships.
Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody listed on here then. Tipton Fire, I don't want Tipton Fire, Tipton City Police, how that works. Sheriff's Department, Cicero Township, Kempton Fire and Rescue, Sharpsville Fire, Madison Township Fire, Wildcat Volunteer, Tipton County EMA, Tipton County 911 Dispatch, Kempton Town Marshal, Windfall Police Department, Sharpsville Police Department, Tipton County Health health department, IU Health Hospital, and Tri-Central Schools. How that? Is that everybody?
That's it, you got them all
If
right.
you missed anybody, then it's your fault.
I did not put the corner on there because he said last time, the coroner's department told me they didn't necessarily.
But they actually do get a reimbursement, correct?
It's on here.
There's money there.
But it's not on here, and I add the coroner.
All right, there is a motion to,
Circuit court
Circuit court also?
on the radio.
I went off of the list that the company who did the actual touch of the ones who sent that.
Well, we bought one for a court, it should be there.
I wonder if it ever got touched then, is my assumption. Because these came off of, when they came through to do the rebate, that's where it came from, so.
Or somebody else had it done.
Or someone else has that radio possibly. Okay.
Like I said, if you missed anybody, it's just fault.
Gerard, is that you? Okay, I think we covered, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thanks, John.
Now I have a quick question about that.
Yeah.
How do I get them back their money then? Yeah, where does this,
We need to do additional appropriation for that amount.
Well, but that was from that company, right?
well,
The
yes,
company paid
the money's here.
the county, and where did that get receipted into?
It's in the EMA, in one of the EMA lines now, I couldn't tell you exactly which one, but that's where it's received into, so it's sitting
County.
there. Right.
So we will have to turn Brandon. Or this first. So is the total exactly, Chuck,
$7,606, and I have a spreadsheet which I can look for the auditor and get the, I handed out last time, but I can get another one that shows where each person.
If you bring that to our next meeting, then if we need additional appropriator to do that,
Okay.
then that way, I mean,
Why couldn't you just go up things for each one of them? Send it to-
No.
because there's not really a line for him to disperse out general fund for that. I guess unless, when
Not all of them will go either. I mean, the sheriff's won't go in the state, the general.
they'll stay in
Just
general.
the plus something.
Circuit court and all those general bills.
All of those all stay where they're already at.
So what do you recommend, what the amount we look at to advertise?
I would recommend that we wait until you bring that list to us next meeting.
Okay,
I mean, units, if they know they're gonna get it, I
okay,
know
they're fine.
2 months won't hurt as long as they know they're doing it.
There's a chance they couldn't get it, right?
There's a chance they couldn't have got it, that's right.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Chuck?
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
That's a good way to look at stuff.
Okay, Nita's here, all right. You were supposed to carry the torch for me, that's what Linda told us.
No, Linda is. Linda's out of mouth. Okay, I'm just kind of here to discuss overtime with the three offices. As you know, we're in pretty bad shape right now. And with the issues with the reassessment on my part, we are in the process of putting things together to see what we have, what we don't have, what needs to still be done, what didn't get done. And the way it was handed back to me is unreal. I kind of have to watch what I say because of litigation. But I'm hoping to get some money back from the reassessment monies. We still owe $107,000, okay? But also, as you know, Benita's worked several months trying to get the funds figured out, which Jackie is in the process of helping us with. And also Greg is overwhelmed with the amount of work that he's done, though he's caught on pretty fast. I'm really pleased with what he's done, but he can't do it all by himself. And I know that it takes overtime or we're not gonna get it done. And I know that I have money in my reassessment fund to do it, but my girls, if they work overtime, they like comp time. Well, I did have a girl to leave, which we had to figure out 15 hours comp time. not much we can do about that at this point. I try to cut back on overtime until all this happened. And it's just gonna take time, overtime, to get it all done. I'm hoping that maybe this time next year, we'll all be in a place that we won't have to use as much overtime. I know Linda, she can correct me, he's got over 200 hours overtime. But if you think about it, basically it's her and Benita for 12 months out of the year, with Judy 10 months out of the year, and then special help when it's tax paying time. And it's hard to, when it's only 2 in the office, to give her that time off, because it takes 2 to run an office, really. You know, so I just wanted to let you guys be aware of it. I know overtime's been an issue here for a long time. I don't think we have a choice at this point. I just wanted to make you guys aware of it, the only way we can get it done. I know Benita, Greg, and I, we can work as many hours as we want, we're not gonna get paid anything. But I know for myself, I'm getting too old to do that. I've already made myself a little sick from all of this anyway. And I am one of the fortunate ones too, and I know Benita is, and Greg's learning. And he's got a bunch of new girls in his office too, that nothing his fault. I do know that he was cut $1,500, or his office was cut $1,500, not him. And I know, and he can speak for himself, I know he wished he had a little bit of that back to be able to get some more help in there to help him out as much as he can to get all this done. Like I said, Jackie is there, which is an asset to him, because she can answer a lot of their questions that they have that they didn't know the answers to. So, but if you guys can just look over it overtime, you know, not make it a big issue this year for us. And I mean, I'm hoping none of us, our girls quit, but we can't do anything about it. If they go and get a job somewhere else, this is only a job for 4 years, and if they can insure themselves a better paying job and, you know, the benefits and things like that, I can't deny them of that. You know, and I'm sure she would love to use her 15 days up there, you know, left. But this job came just like that, they offered it to her, so she had to do it. And she told me ahead of time that she was looking, and because she's a single mom, so, and I couldn't deny her of that. I would do that to any of my girls. But I just want you to know our thinking. Benita, you want to express yours a little more than that?
No, I agree. Linda does have a lot of time, but one thing, when there's just 2 of us, it's hard for us to try to balance both and concentrate, because somebody will walk in, we have to stop. And then we have to go back and figure out where we were, so we do have to work, you know, over the weekend or whatever. We don't really want to, but we have to. And I don't think she's planning to quit the next 2 years, because we're headed down. So, we'll just, you know, try to.
Greg?
I currently have Lindsay Ogden on pregnancy leave until the end of this month. So we're one paid individual that's not able to be present and accounted for and working hours. So we're working with a neophyte in the head position and one completely absent from the office until the end of this month. And it does work us a little harder than it would normally be the case. And I'm trying as best I can to come up to speed, and I'm putting in some extra hours, and gladly so. I knew the job was dangerous when I took it. So that to me is not a big issue. But just the day-to-day, any of you that have been in the office know that there are constant interruptions. And as particularly in the auditor's office, there are so many varied tasks and responsibilities that it's going to take man hours to get caught up on the transfers and things that need to be done so that we have an efficient office, and we're not holding the treasurer's office and the assessor's office back from completing their tasks as well. I'm fully aware of those responsibilities and the the weight of those.
Our main goal is to be on time billing, okay? And I was to the point, I just called the state and said, where do I start? Because there's so much that has to be done, and it's all important. And he said, first of all, if you could get a joint meeting with the commissioners and the council, and tell them, this is what's happening, this is what you're gonna have to make it work. So I talked to Barry Wood, DLGF, he's one of the top guys at the DLGF, and Mike told me he might not be here. I didn't realize Jane was out of the country, but I thought, well, this is a good night as any, because that way nobody had to come back in for a special meeting. So he told me to present it to you guys, let you know where we're at. The concerns with the state is on-time billing for all counties in the state of Indiana. We're usually one of the top 5 counties that get everything in, that's depressing to me. We need it because we've been here 37 years, and this is the first year we're really gonna get soft on some of the things, but it happens. I can't worry about the past, but I can go forward to the future. And my future is to work hard to get on-time billing for the people of Tipton County, but it's gonna take some overtime. We got a good group that's willing to help us out to get it done. It's just that I know the overtime is an issue with everybody. You know, I wish we could say we can do it without it, but we can't. So I wanted to present it to you guys as a group. Like I said, it was a recommendation from the state to kind of explain what's going on. I think you guys are all aware of what's going on with our county at this point, but I think you got a big group of people that care. That really cares of what goes on, and it's done in a timely fashion. And we're not only here for ourselves, but we're here for the people of Tipton County, and we feel like this is the only way we can do it and get it done in a timely fashion. So, any comments?
I got, I guess, a question. I know that several months ago, we met with the commissioners, and during the day, we were kind of looking mostly then about comp time, because it wasn't very clearly defined on how you earned it, how you used it, what you could carry over, all those kinds of things. And I know in the budgets for the departments in the courthouse, there's no overtime budget.
Right.
So are you asking or assuming that we're gonna need to put money in for that, or you're gonna earn an inordinate amount of comp time that's gonna have to be taken care of at some point, or what way are you leaning toward needing?
Well, right now, I think, well, we don't have any in our own budget. I have some reassessment monies. I think I got about $11,000 left. Now that Debbie's left, Phyllis is going on full time, so that's what I was paying Phyllis out, and she was the one getting the most. So I have some money, I'll use it as much as I can, okay? But, you know.
But it's not overtime.
No, that extra help, for extra help. The comp time, I asked the State Board of Accounts if I could pay any of my girls any kind of overtime, if it need to be out of that money. And Al looked, he said, well, I couldn't find nothing,
We didn't appropriate anything. Yeah,
Right.
so.
And everything, so, but I would like to see if comp time isn't carried over, which I know Phil, I kind of handed the handbook over to Phil because of my time. I just had too much going on that I couldn't handle it all. So I know we've looked at several different counties for different things, and he could probably fill you in on that one. But right now, if we can do the comp time, if we could even carry it over, maybe use as much as we can, but this year is our main concern. This year is our main concern, and maybe we can address at budget time. We didn't ask for overtime pay at budget time. I know I didn't put it in my budget. Maybe it's something we should address. Because you said the sheriff or somebody else, and there was another county, department that has their own overtime. Oh, the highway. I don't know, I've never done this before, my girls always use comp.
Have the commissioners defined any of those comp time issues?
We haven't talked to as a board, but Linda and I have looked at several counties and gotten their employee handbooks, and we did not find really anything different or any answer that any surrounding county has had on.
They were about here,
Well,
and
Huh?
There are federal limits. as to how much comp time you can.
240 in it.
I think that sounds.
Yeah.
But
It's the most you can carry over, the most you can acquire, and after that you have to pay.
when we get into budget time, I think it would be helpful for the council, for the courthouse staff, because the others already have overtime in their budgets. But if the commissioners could come up with what they would like, then, we don't have to mimic another county, but you just have to make a decision. How do you want to define those comp time issues that were brought up? And then if they're defined, then the department heads and the council could look at the money behind it, whether we needed to have X amount of money to provide out at the end of the year, so you didn't roll over too many, or could you roll them over, or if we needed to make an overtime line in these departments. We can't just take a stab at the dark, so I would encourage the commissioners to finish up on that, defining that comp time, and then.
What needs to be defined? What actually question do you want? Because it is said in the statute, our book says 240 hours. The main question was, all right, what limits Linda to giving her girl comp time?
Well, that was, one of the questions was how much, yes, because everybody,
Okay, I have never ran her office. I cannot tell her how much comp time she's allowed, can you?
well, if you don't set some parameter for her, then the council can't put money behind it.
Okay, but how can I set a parameter for Linda and then the next office? I mean, where do you draw?
You set it for the
That's
whole
the question.
courthouse.
At some point, that there has to be a defined amount of comp time. And
Well, that's what we were looking for in any other county that had that defined. And we have not found a county that didn't define it.
there you go.
Hmm?
No comp time in Clinton County. There's a definition.
Okay.
But
So how do they pay for this?
I'm just strictly talking,
They pay
I'm
over.
just strictly talking money. From a money standpoint, we gotta be able to come up with some type of concrete number that, because it's too nebulous right now. Do you wanna roll over? That was one of the questions. Do you wanna roll over? And if you do, how much? And if you don't roll it all over, do you pay it out? And how do you earn it? Because the courthouse works a 36-hour week. So can I earn another 36? Could I stay here till midnight and work and rack it up? How do those things go? And that was all discussed during that meeting, but we never had any.
It's pretty much set by federal wage and hour. The maximum amounts are set by wage and hour, and it's determined in wage and hour that a work week, the standard work week is 40 hours. If you are on the schedule for 32, then the first 8 hours you work above 32 is at straight time. After that, it's at time and a half. So if you are working 42 hours, you now have 3.5 hours comp time. But it's pretty much set, and wage and hour says that, federal wage and hour says that 240 is the maximum you can have. After that, you have to pay overtime if you work for people. It has to stay. It doesn't go away. If they leave, you pay them, and if they don't get, or they use their comp time.
But currently, we don't have any definition on what can be earned. So if I got hired in the courthouse in December, and I could work 24 hours a day for the 31 days, you'd owe me all that comp time. And you'd have to pay me before I left. And we don't have the money in place as a council. And that's what I'm asking the commissioners, if they would, they have the authority.
Most they have to pay you is 240 hours.
Right, but we don't have that in December in anybody's
Right.
budget.
I
So
understand that.
that's what I'm asking for, because we did talk about it in that day meeting. Those were the issues that came up. So if we don't have that defined, we really don't know where we're at with how many people. So we can't put money behind it because it's too wide open. So,
But there's regulations, there are the 240, those are set, but that does not prevent a county from establishing their own parameters, as Brad's saying, is to define what we want to decide as leaders in the county, what that's going to be. And so like Clinton County officers were brave enough to say, there's no comp time. So, and if you don't do that, Phil, if we do not define that, what's going to happen? There's going to be two things that's happening. Brad's already said one. This board will not be educated enough to make wise decisions where the money's going to go. And in addition to that, as we kind of discussed at our meeting on that day, is that the auditor's office had several employees, I believe, with this comp time. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna create chaos in their offices. One of them's gonna be doing one thing, one of them's gonna be doing another, and there's gonna create chaos, and there's not gonna be any order to that. So it's your responsibility to create some type
Would you
of
be
order.
happy if we did away with comp time and agreed to pay everybody overtime?
I think that what came out of that meeting that day was we just wanted the
I'm asking
commissioners.
you.
Yeah, when we left that meeting,
Would
we
you
were.
be happy with us
We
agreeing to
would be,
pay
I think,
overtime?
I can speak for what I know about from that meeting. I think when we left that meeting, Phil, everyone was just under the impression that you guys were gonna make a decision. Hey, we didn't care, we just said make a decision, better define that.
Would you
And
be
you have not
happy-
done that yet.
Would
Let
you
me
be
ask you a
happy to
question
pay
here.
overtime?
Let me ask you a question here. Okay, what you're saying, you might be willing to pay the overtime, but there should be a limit to the overtime. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, because the three departments, the sheriff, including the jail, dispatch, and highway, have a set amount. They don't have comp time. They have a
And that's
set
what
amount of
Jack is
overtime. And so if they get in and they overspend their overtime, then they gotta figure out where to shuffle it from, ask for a transfer, additional appropriation, but there's a set amount. So when we leave the budget session at that time, the highway department knows what they've got. Now, they do comp time because they do some other stuff, but they're an unusual grouping. But the sheriff's department and dispatch have a certain amount. So I'm okay with,
I mean, that
I
might be
just,
the
I
answer.
just hate to get late in the year or have somebody quit that has a lot of racked up, then we gotta pay out a lump sum that we didn't anticipate.
That's why
That's all it
that's
is.
why they chose not to. I will tell you, and this is just from experience, in Clinton County, overtime is put in the council's budget. Before any elected official is allowed to spend overtime, they have to pre-request it. And the council then, they have a set amount, and they then say to the elected official, you have, you can spend 2,000 of our money, and then do that, or any special project. And it.
That's a
the
great
overtime is-
idea,
that's
because
overtime is controlled
that's a
in
great
our
idea,
budget.
because they're the ones that control the day-to-day. That's a great idea.
Yeah, because you're right, Phil, you can't really tie their hands and say you
No.
can't do this or you shouldn't do that. But there's gotta be
But they come to you and
communication.
justify, you know, the salary or the overtime. But they
Free-
don't
free
wait
of
comp
it.
time.
Well, I know, we went to the
Unless it's an
commissioners.
emergency, I mean, they're, you know, someone has an accident and their employee is zapped, you know, people usually call the council liaison for the elected officials. Take care
Well,
of it.
this is a little bit unusual this year. We usually don't have this much comp time, a few days each tax time. But also Linda's been here long enough that she has a month's vacation.
It's hard to
Plus
cover it.
200 hours and we only have 5 minutes left, so I don't know how we're gonna manage that.
And it's not a new problem, because that's why we all met earlier this year, because from the auditor's office, there were these big, huge payouts at the end of the year. And we were like, where's this money, where do we get this money from? So it is not a new problem.
Well, that's something we definitely should tackle at budget time. Whether we want to look at that and what those values would be, is we'd have to look at pay rates and things and see where we want it to be. But
Yeah, because you would have to look at how much each person makes, because my girl would probably make, well, we all make all of our girls on the top. And, you know, like I said, it's hard right now, because we could work 24/7 until the end of the year, and still not be caught up at this point, any of us, to be honest with you. You know, we are working as hard as we can, we've been coming in early, staying over, you know, basically, I have, and maybe one or two of my girls, or one would come in early, the other, it's still overtime, you know, but that's the only way we're gonna get done, because, like you said, you still have to run the office. You gotta stop and answer the phone, you gotta wait on the customers to come in, you know, you still have to do it, and there's so much you can do. I know for a fact, I can come up here on Saturday and get twice as much done when the telephone's not ringing and everything else is not, but,
Brett, what about if we just put into it only allow, I mean, you guys put a line item in for comp time payout. That would be in their budget, they know how far they can go. Same thing as setting an overtime budget,
you wouldn't call it comp time payout though,
that's what it is.
but not in their budget. It'd be overtime.
overtime pay.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, I think what Jackie said though, if it's in one budget, similar to the cell phone issue, you know, I mean, it's, because there is, you know, if you have to come and state the reasons and make an appearance as to why this is happening, then there's some accountability that's associated with it, which is fine, because, you know.
We used to have to go to these guys and say, hey, well, like Benita, this is gonna be my busy time, and at this point, that's when I'm coming to the joint to tell you that it's gonna we're gonna have to have some overtime to get the job done.
And that's, I don't know why we stopped that. That's a great idea, just to say no comp time. You guys say no comp time, and then the council puts in the commissioner's line item for overtime. And say, there it is.
Better be big.
Courthouse.
Better be big. Oh, do the thing, you put my guys in there and say no comp time. The money you guys give, if I don't offer them comp time, I give them comp time or pay. It's their choice. Because a lot of the guys want comp time.
My girls do too.
The 15,000 you put in mine or whatever, it wouldn't touch. When we have things where guys get called out and stuff, all hours and stuff, wouldn't touch. That's why I have to offer some comp time, you know, if they stay over an hour one day, you know, go home a day, an hour early one day. You know, things like that. I offer that to them, and a lot of guys will take it. They're real good about it.
The highway is a little unique because of the
Yeah.
seasonal issue. But,
It was the courthouse, it was.
yeah, but once again, you gotta manage your department.
Right,
And
exactly.
you
right.
need to know if one man on the road or 5 is what you need, so.
Right,
And you can only do that day to day.
right. And I mean, yeah, it's, every day's different with us.
It was the courthouse is where the comp
Yeah.
issue kicked in, so.
The whole, I guess the biggest issue is how much you would have to want to pay into it. That's something you want to research, you know. Because like I said, you know, the Benito, she's a good example because they have to collect money until 4 o'clock and then they shut the door and then they drop it down, you know.
Yeah, but you can look at the history, you can look back at a whole year of payroll
Sure.
and look at it and say, March it's a lot more, or April we do this, and, I mean, there could be some type of an accounting that would show us some type of an average, but it's got to be there, because it has to be on your time cards.
Well, wasn't the handbook supposed to be updated, and that would take care of it?
Yes, it is. And I'll take it, I'll take a look at it.
Commissioner's probably supposed to do that.
Well,
Linda's
we had
already
a group of people, and when they did it, Brad, Sherry from the
All right.
highway, Phil, myself, and somebody else.
Jason?
Amanda.
Manager, but Jason.
Mandy. And what we did was I went and got copies of different counties' handbooks, and I sent it to there. Well, then I started having troubles, and I just called Phil, and I said, Phil, there's no way I'm gonna be able to stay. I said, so he took it over for me, and Sherry, I made copies for all of them, and I think I sent yours email. Phil picked it up, the other two did not pick up nothing. So I just kind of left it there. I did say Phil, and Phil got some more information. And so I'll kind of take the heat on that. I probably should have come and informed you guys that I did give it up. But yes, most of them are the same way as ours is what I've looked at. You know, they're kind of wrote the same way ours is wrote. So the majority of them are.
I think that's pretty general with government.
So.
That was the way we got away from having to pay.
Comp time was about the same all over, and like I said, I'm like Johnny, my girl just seem to have comp time, but I know it gets overwhelming after a while, and I understand where you guys are coming from. And whatever you guys decide to do, that's fine. I just know this year, we got an issue.
Well, I think everybody's probably in agreement, but the commissioners, it would be good to set it for the record. That way, every office in the courthouse is doing it the same. That'll help that problem, and then it'll also help whoever sits on this board better budget for the funds needed for that. All right, anything else? All right, thanks, Linda. Thanks very much.
I do have.
Thanks for the extra work.
Yeah, I know Greg, the money that you guys cut from his budget, $1,500, or from the auditor's budget,
The transfer.
We transfer.
okay.
mean, I would like to take a look at Greg's budget now, because I think a lot of his lines have gotten depleted, and he needs to go to conference in the fall.
Big time.
And I don't think he's got any money to go.
The fall conference can be paid without appropriation because it's
Without
state mandated.
appropriation, yeah, that's right. Well, that's his state call, I don't think he's paying out his room and board.
All of it, everything is unappropriated.
Even the room and board.
For state call.
Is the fees.
Also, Greg, maybe your second meeting, you can have a list of extra money you need for us.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. We have one other item here on the agenda. The sheriff has an additional appropriation, right, or no?
Well, we talked, it's about the part-time, my part-time position. You guys, we transferred 2,000 in last meeting to get her through the time there, and then we tabled the rest of it to figure out what we could do. Then I have some additional appropriations that are, because inmate population, a lot of it.
So we tabled something from last year?
Do you have a proposed solution on your part-time line item that's really close to having no money in it?
I mean, the part-time is very important to us. I mean, it's very, very important. I don't have a solution for you. If you can't find it, I might be able to, I think I might be able to find a line, and if you guys, we've used it before, and it's got to do with sheriff sales. Anybody that works on sheriff sales, that money has to be appropriated for something in that line. She does work in this, the sheriff sales thing also. She does the, sets them up with SRI, stuff like that, does all the mailings and stuff for them. So, I mean, if I had to, the sheriff's fund, maybe we can get some money out of there. I don't have a clue what's in, probably 12, 13,000, I'm guessing. What we get paid when we do them.
So we went over this last month.
Yeah, you had to transfer 2,000 from the jailer,
I know.
turnkey.
I'm just surprised you didn't ask to find out what was in that in the last 30 days.
I just thought of that today, because I was sitting there trying to figure out what we had to do. I was worried about my other things that I gotta get appropriated. And you guys have a sheet of the appropriations. Jail supplies, if you don't know what they are, it's not on there. But it's toilet paper, gloves, fingerprint materials, bookend packets, trash bags, water softener, salt, things like that. That's jail supplies that it comes out of that budget. And because of the influx of higher inmate count, that's probably in the count almost. I think I asked for 14,000, you cut me to 10. I've already spent 6,500, so I'm asking for the actual full amount that I asked for at the beginning. Lee's pretty good knowing about what you need for to run a jail. That would bring it to exactly what she asked for, or her and I put together last year. She's pretty sharp on that stuff.
You spent 65 so far.
Out of jail supplies.
Use a commissary to kind of help that out. Have you? What kind of commissary balance you got?
I guess around 30,000.
No plan, no plan for that.
Yes, I do.
So,
Technology and computers for our vehicles. And then hopefully cameras for our vehicles, to get us up to date. I don't want to, I don't want to deplete it completely down, but that is in my plan, so I don't have to come and ask for that stuff from you guys.
What's your average been? You said your inmate stuff, your population, I know you report that.
I finally dropped to 30 this week. came in Monday, I had 30 inmates. First time it was under 40 since the middle of last year. So about 40 plus ever since on the average.
Your repair and maintenance of equipment, you're asking for an extra 13.5. We put 36,500 in there. Plus you got the CCD.
I'm using that for my jail doors through the commissioners. That's what I've been talking with them, trying to use it for. I asked them for the approval, they allow me to do that.
Do which?
The jail doors through the CCD.
Do you use it all?
It's usually pretty good because they are not good doors. And it's very expensive to have them fixed, so you gotta make the parts for them whenever they're special and sold. Repair and maintenance, let's say I asked for 50, you guys put me 36.5, we've spent 29.6 for the year already, just repairing the jail. And that's not counting the jail doors.
You don't know what the doors cost. There's 15 in CCD, 15,000.
Right. I can't tell you exactly what we spent out of there so far, but I'm guessing just roughly 5,000, pretty close. And then also, I did the roof repair through CCD. We've had to have Gray and Alter do the estimates, and we had to have the roof repaired twice on the house and the jail. The other one's the inmate supplies, which that is your uniforms, footwear that you have to give them, the engine packs, the soap, toothpaste. If they don't have any money, we have to provide that for all of them. And you get things, towels, wash rags, blankets, things like that, mattresses. We have to supply that for, by law to them. If they don't have money, we can't say you can't have it.
Okay, so we're looking at two things, John.
Yeah, you'll get jail supplies, inmate supplies, and repair and maintenance on the appropriations.
On the additional, but the one that did we table that? With the
Yeah, you
overtime?
tabled the part-time position.
Okay, let's chat about the overtime. Beth?
Part-time.
Oh, part-time.
Part-time, sorry. Suzanne, Denny, Madonna, Vicky, got anything you want to say about the overtime? John has
Part-time.
a part-time, he's allocated X number of dollars. We're halfway through the year. When we budgeted last year, you put a number in there. He's already spent that. Madonna, you have a word for us?
No, not necessarily, I was just saying where, you probably spent the 900 and some you had left, right? Did you have some left in that fund, but
In the
part-time?
part-time, I think we had like 900 something when we transferred 2,000.
Okay.
Last meeting, you guys transferred 2 out of the jailer's, the turnkey line.
Oh, okay.
So I'm okay right now, but it's whether, how we want to go from there. I think I asked for 19 last year at the budget time, and you guys gave me 8.
We budgeted 8 and you were
Yeah.
asking for 8 more, right?
I would be interested to see what the sheriff's sale money, how it can be utilized. I don't think we've ever tapped into it.
Yeah, you have.
For
We
what?
bought the Tahoe.
Tahoe.
I mean, but personnel's what I'm talking about, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, you guys, I haven't used the sheriff's cell money since I've been in office for anything.
And I'm not, was that something that was supposed to offset sheriff's pay when we increased it?
Yeah, that's something
So
that,
we
yeah, but
have-
it just sits there.
So so we're paying, all the sheriff's pay out general fund, and we're not recouping anything back on the sheriff's money.
Well, the sheriff's cell money has to be used by statute in certain lines only.
Right, but when we made the sheriff, when we put them under the contract in, the 65,000, we looked
Right.
at, there was 3 pieces of revenue in there, and this was one of them that would help offset when we raised that payout.
Because the sheriff was involved, the sheriff's sale.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
That was what we anticipated. The meal money,
It all just started over the top of, if you
that money to buy the Tahoe.
Because I go serve I go out and post all.
Right, but the money could be utilized for his salary, and that's where it ended up getting transferred from that fund, the sheriff's fund, over to the general fund, to offset a part of his salary.
Yeah.
But we were only doing that for however long we were paying the lease on the Tahoe.
I don't remember that being set. I thought that was
It
the
was
agreement.
connected to that.
No, I thought it was the statute changed. It
Yeah.
allowed us to do that, and we, and if I'm not mistaken, I thought we did a resolution on that.
Yeah, that's where I
It
remember.
created that position, so the
I have-
sheriff's gonna
let's
make
see, I don't
that
know
regardless. I
How
don't
much is in it,
remember
because
it.
I've never used it,
Well, we should have been drawn out of it.
but I know it's there.
Well, just another one, though, we gotta be careful about transferring.
Yeah, it's one of those, it is
I don't
set up
know
by
anything about
statute
this,
how you
how it
have to
operates,
use
so.
that money.
But I mean,
Is it required to, if it requires appropriation? Every fund requires.
Yes, I would say so.
There's a couple that don't.
Well, but they're specific in the statute when they don't, and that's not in the.
Right, I mean, I could take commissary money and go buy things that have to do with the jail, or it's gonna improve the jail, things like that. I mean, it's set by statute what you can use commissary money for, what you can use sheriff's sale money for. It's all set by statute where, you know.
Okay, so what's the council want to do with the,
Look at the sheriff's sale money.
look at the sheriff's sale money?
I don't know what I don't even know what the fund number is, I'll be honest with you.
we got one.
Oh, I can tell you what the
Jackson can
balance
find
is.
it, she can find it, and she'll tell you what it is. I have,
Can you tell us what fund number? I
Yeah.
can.
Okay, so until Jackie gets back then,
I mean, I would say we could transfer out of there, because she does work on the paperwork, so that would cover that part of it. I think we would want to find out for sure before we could actually do it. That's the only solution I have for the part-time keeper employee.
During this last 30 days, her schedule pretty much remained constant. So you didn't make any adjustments on scheduling.
Do on the scheduling of,
Her work week, has it remained the same?
no, she'll come in 4 days, either like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or
has it changed?
Has her weekly hours changed?
at this point, no, she's
Okay.
constantly busy. I mean, constantly doing something. She has no,
You know,
we have to have our paperwork where we need.
well,
That's what I say.
that's fine, but, you know, once again, you back us in a corner, and if you don't have the money, at some point,
I asked for the money, Brad, last year. I asked for $19,000,
and what will you give it?
8,000.
So my point is that everybody else tries to live within their budget, and you're out in June. So we gave you an extra 2 to see what we could do to get through, and you didn't make any adjustments. So,
I mean, we can, we
If
can go
business
back
is-
to 1970s,
well, it's just business as usual
No.
until we run out of money.
because they didn't have the paperwork trail that they have now. They don't have it. They never had it in the past. Okay? If somebody comes to sue us, I can bring you a paperwork trail up. I can follow it all the way back. If somebody comes after us for something or needs something, I can do it. Take her away, I don't have enough people to do it.
What you're talking about, though, is on the sheriff's sales stuff, or what? When you say
Oh,
the
she
paper trail
does
on what?
Paper trail on anything. If somebody wants a report, because she types all the reports in, we keep every report. You know, she runs all the computer stuff, the sheriff's sales, the commissary stuff, anything that has paperwork and computer work, she does all of it. Book impact, she lists everybody in the books, everything.
I guess maybe that's what we should look at budget time, is what areas she's helping with, and maybe those areas should help compensate that pay.
But is it any different from the office holders that were here 20 minutes ago saying that they're overloaded too?
No,
So they didn't spend and schedule with no regard for what they have in their budget.
Price balance. And the fund number's 226.
What's the balance, Jackie? I don't know.
16,000.
16,000.
So what I'm saying is, there's X amount of dollars that's appropriated, and that's all you've got to spend. So there's no guarantee past that. And we're in July, and we're gonna be looking at next year's budget. If part-time money gets 5,000 or 50,000, whatever it is, that's yours to spend in that fashion. But when the red flag came up in June that you were running low, we gave you a Band-Aid of 2,000.
Right.
Just try to stop the bleeding, and you didn't make any adjustments on your own. If we don't do anything tonight and wait till next month, that's another month you gotta go. But there's no guarantee that the 7-member board is gonna create any more appropriation to make this happen. So you didn't make any corrective actions in the last 30 days, and that, to me, that's just not prudent. You cut her back one day, cut her back 2 hours a day, or do something to say, look, we're trying to bounce through this rough time, because I don't know where the money's coming from. Although now, you came up with a solution today, so we could look at it,
Right.
but it didn't do us, again, I got my stuff sitting on my desk when I came in, so it doesn't give me time
Right.
to do any research. So it's difficult. I mean, it's a two-way street. I don't mind doing some legwork and doing some research and trying to come up with several creative solutions to make things happen and work for the departments, but you gotta give it to us in a timely fashion. So,
Well, it's one of those things, you know, when she does tax warrants and things like that. I think everybody, you guys asked me last week how much she's brought in since she started doing them upright. And the number was on your sheet that I handed you last week. It was somewhere around $19,000 that she brought back to the county general from doing just the tax warrants that were behind and catching everything up. You know, that's her salary she brought back, and that's for all the work that she's done for us. You know, that's why I asked for that position, to have because we need somebody like that. Nobody else in place can stay up on all that work.
Well, I think where the problem is, John, and you might not be, you're probably not the only one guilty department head, but when the department head submits a budget and then it's finalized by the council, it would be wise to look at it, you know, pretty regularly, that's first couple months, or maybe compare with what you submitted, and then say, oh, looks like the council is only giving me X number, I gotta make a plan for it. I think that's Brad's trying to get at. You know, it would be good to say, I need to make a plan for it, because if you don't, what happens is, the perception is that, you know what? The sheriff didn't care about what number this council decided as a group to put in that, he's gonna go do what he wants to. But I think, and you're probably, like I said, you're not the only one that's guilty, but whenever it comes back and you see one line item that's like, you know, $8,000 short of what you requested, and you know she's pretty sharp, then that's the time probably to address it. And I don't know if every department head does that, but it might be a good thing, practice to do. But you see what Brad's saying, the perception is, you know, this board is responsible for setting the budget, and then just like the commissioners, they're signing contracts, and what are we doing? And then they say, well, if you don't, then it looks like we're taking down the highway, and so it's not a good way to go.
No, I mean, I probably didn't pay attention at the beginning of the year, because I know what I asked for originally. And when we did the budget, I probably didn't even pay attention to what it was. Lee brought it to my attention, you know, a little late, you know what I'm saying? And I probably just skipped over and didn't realize that, you know, because I thought I asked for 19,000, I'm pretty sure I did.
Well, yeah.
Budget, and I probably
But you
didn't.
know, at
I
budget,
missed
we
it.
also sit down with you and Lee, both were in here, we went through
Right.
things, and there was areas that you told us we could cut.
At that time, yeah, I said,
Right.
it would be okay at this time.
And I'm not so sure that some of those areas aren't what you're asking for now.
Yeah, I think it is, because, yeah, it is, because that's where, you know, we knew what we needed. But, you know, if you need to cut something, that's where we're thinking, you know, you can cut for now, and I'm gonna have to come back. You know, I don't like to come back now, I'll be honest, first one to tell you that. I don't like being here doing that.
But the
I
whole
really
thing
don't.
is that when we cut, and we're we're doing our budgets, it's because we're looking at everything out further than where you're at for the end of the year, and we're looking there and we're seeing that we don't have the extra.
And I think some of the jail, the maintenance repair, you guys wouldn't let me encumber the December bills. You wouldn't let me encumber the December bills, so when they came in January, I had to pay them. I mean, it'll catch up this year. It'll catch up eventually, but
When we did our budgets, you know, and I'm looking at our booklet here, you know, the part-time issue, in 2010, different sheriff spent 3,262. 3,262. And we appropriated 8,011. So right there, we more than double what was spent. And we stayed consistent and budgeted 8,000 for this year.
right.
So if you go back 2 years, that was 3,200.
That's why the
So-
tax warrants were 2 years behind.
Okay, but you assign that to a part-time person. In your department, you could have anybody doing tax warrants. You could have the matron, you could have deputy A, B, or C, you could have sheriff, you could have major. If that's your assignment, so you set that there. So that's okay. But you've got X amount of resources to use. Use them as well as you can, and when your 8,000 was over, it was over. So you've got X amount of people on your console. I mean, they need to multitask. You do a lot of activities. You just don't take calls and administrate. You transport prisoners, you do whatever you do. I don't even know if you cook. But what I'm saying is, just because you think that she's got to do this one task, it could be broadened, and you could train multiple people, and it could become something that everybody does to some degree, or you could bring it back in under one person. But there's no rule that says that that's her activity exclusively, and if we don't pay her, it's gonna not happen.
No, that's just, she does multiple things, that we don't have the time to sit there and do. And the jailers can't sit there and do it, due to the fact that they gotta watch the inmates. And that's the thing, we got so many different things going on at once. That's why they got so far behind on everything they ever did. That's why they never had paper trails for anything that happened. They didn't have anybody to do it. Now, if you go back to Craig's generation, he had a part-time secretary, it was like $20-some thousand. If you go back to Craig Henderson, I'm pretty sure. He had two people in
Long
there.
and short of it is, the county has X number of dollars, and we've got to be prudent with them,
I understand that.
and you have to be too.
Well, I'd be interested in the sheriff's sale money. I would be interested to look at that if it's potential that we can use it for some type of a salary issue. But outside of that, I'd be interested in any other fixes, transfers that you might recommend. And that's just my personal swap.
If transfers around in the jail, then we just defeated them, we just asked them for additional appropriation, you should have just transferred to those areas first.
I don't think I have any transfer money into these, the new ones. I think those are appropriations. I think everything else is cut down pretty much to the minimum. These are the only things that look to where we're gonna have trouble with right now.
So does anybody want to make a motion on these three additional appropriations?
I'll make a motion to advertise for the additional appropriation in the general fund, jail budget, jail supplies, 4,000, inmate supplies, 2,000, repair and maintenance equipment, 13,500 for the next meeting.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. 4,000 be additionally or advertised for jail supplies, 2,000 inmate supplies, and 13,500 for repair and maintenance. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, all right.
I'd like to define my reason for nay. I feel like the inmate supply should come out of common sense. The other two I'm fine with, but as a whole, I have to vote no.
We can talk about that in 30 days.
I mean, I'm fine with being advertised, but I do feel like that needs to be common sense.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the,
I've got one
Oh,
other
go ahead.
question.
Yeah.
Can we get emailed to us a current ledger on the jail? So we can look at the-
Combined ledger?
Okay.
Just the jail?
Yeah, we know what the balance in the sheriff's sale is.
Yeah,
but
16
Jail
one.
and CCD would be great, so we can see when it's been
I
spent.
think I've got James out there in the car, a couple minutes, so I can bring it up Jill's.
Okay, we'll just get it. And Scott, I also have the health department additional appropriation that we need to advertise for as well, so that may be something we'll discuss next.
well, part-time first, let's do that. Any further discussion on the part-time help for the sheriff? It's been brought up to look at the sheriff sale fund. Anybody have a motion or anything?
Well, I'd like to recommend that we investigate the potential of using that money for a salary line.
So it's just a transfer, that's correct.
It'd have to be appropriated, it'd have to be
That
appropriated.
would have to be
spend on it.
appropriated also.
So it could be up to 2 months. So we can vote on it next month to appropriate, to addition to advertising. And you're gonna have enough money.
I'll have to get that from your agency on that thing.
And then I think our discussion should include it when we do this, but are we actually creating a part-time position?
So we're going basically.
So, I mean, are we bringing you back up to status where it was before?
I think I put it in my budget this year, so when we get ready to discuss it, we can go over that again this year. I mean, because I think I did put it in there.
So do I have a motion? Any kind?
Do we need a motion or just recommend that or request that research be done on the sheriff's sale fund to see if it can be utilized for some salary?
Can they do something like where if it's, can we advertise for it if
Go ahead
it
and
is?
advertise
If
for
it's,
another
if it's
day.
okay to do it that way?
Yeah, yeah, we can do that, just as fine, get ahead of
Okay.
the situation.
Rather have it than not need it than need it not have it.
Yeah.
So we need a definitive answer at our next meeting on the research.
You'll have, I think
We don't have the answer
Greg will
yet.
have to check, or Jack will have to look at that also, because it would come out of that fund. I mean, they probably know where to look for it. Another state statute, I can find another statute, if they can't, I will.
I think it's great.
When you
Because Greg can
establish,
give us a
when you
report.
establish the fund, did you do it by resolution?
I don't know.
Or did you
know.
just
It's in there,
establish it
Fran,
it's
because
old.
it's state?
It's
I
an old,
believe, yeah, I think it was established by resolution.
it's an old fund.
Do you have any idea how long they've
The
been?
sheriff's sale fund? See, I thought it was just established when we went on board with SRI. There were some resolutions.
You've
we
had the
decided-
sheriff's sales since they've been
Yeah,
taking
but
houses.
years ago, the sheriff's sale money just went into county general.
Yeah, if,
Any warrants that you got either went, either the sheriff kept or went in county general years ago.
I'm pretty sure there was a resolution, and SRI, they may even be able to, if you can't locate it, they may be able to produce it.
Okay, so, you gotta make a motion to advertise.
I'll make a motion
Oh,
to advertise for an additional appropriation
out of the sheriff's sale fund 226 for the amount of $6,000.
I think I've got it in here. It will, I'll have to make sure it does. I'll make sure it does.
You're not coming back.
No, I'm not coming back.
6,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Beth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
So you're saying there's no third time?
I'm not coming back for, no, I'm not.
Well, John, thank you for pointing out that sheriff's sale money.
Well, I know, I thought about that today, you know, that there's, because it is set by statute, that how it can be used. And it has anything to do with sheriff sales, it can go there, but it's like the paper service. You know, we have $13 for every paper we serve. It goes back to the county general. But I can buy a car out of that. Really, it's supposed to be in a certain fund. We can buy a car if somebody's gonna go serve papers with, which everybody does anyway.
Now, we need to fill that resolution out on the pay though, because somewhere we're gonna get contract on this. Why we made that $65,000. Pay the sheriff.
All right, Suzanne, you have something? New business?
Last month, we established the receipt line and the expenditure line for the $3,500 that we were to receive from the foundation. Is that-
Yeah, she got a grant from the foundation.
3,500, and Jackie has produced the quietest showing the money being receipted into Fund 801, so we can do the motion for the public hearing, the additional appropriation of the money. So I'll make a motion to advertise for a public hearing in the Health Fund 801, the amount of $3,500. And this will be in a supplies line.
Is there a second? All right, discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you, Suzanne. And Brad's got one item, new business here.
At our last meeting, under economic development, I know our director, Linda Williamson, was here, and she'd given us a report on the abatement at Pioneer was acceptable, but at 84 Lumber, we had granted them an abatement, they're out of business, and she offered to, tonight, give us an update on potential actions that we could take. Did you hear anything? I mean,
I didn't hear a report on that, I did ask.
she offered.
She would be here.
All she said was, I'll get back, I'll do some research and get back, and it's in our minutes that way, that she was gonna report back tonight. But, so I guess, the company that we granted the abatement to is out of business. So, I would assume we should start the process to rescind the abatement, because it's not active, that company does not exist. And it was on the vacant building, and that's what spurred her interest, because it was a newer type of an abatement. But if the company's not a company, then how can we have an abatement?
I would think.
Beth, you're our
Process.
abatement expert.
I would think we would rescind it as a normal process. She was gonna check on all that to make sure, since that was sort of a new statute thing, but I can't see why you wouldn't. We want to get that stopped as soon as possible, and I don't know if we can go back to when they actually went out more compliance, because at some point we heard that they had been dwindling their employee rate down, and to stay in compliance, they had to keep so many employees there and be doing so much work, so.
How do we rescind an abatement?
Well, normally you have a resolution.
The resolution, but I think this will involve the county attorney. The Ackerman abatement, I believe, where the city attorney handled that one. And they negotiated that and came to a settlement that was close to a 5-year abatement.
I think we should, by some type of a motion or action, at least direct the county attorney to begin the process or whatever needs to happen.
If I remember right, didn't she say whoever she talked to at the state said this was something new that she wasn't familiar with? Or they wasn't familiar with?
Well, that
The whole
abandoned building abatement, that was new when they passed that, that was kind of, or we had never used one in the county, it's probably the past county more so, but I mean, I think we should start the process and initiate the county attorney to start the process, whatever.
Yeah, we don't need research from our economic development person.
I mean, that's what she was going to do this tonight.
But when I said 84 lumber, I meant the property there. It's Trust Manufacturing in Westview. That it was the 84 lumber property that was vacant and they took it over. So Trust Manufacturing is the one that's out of business. I'm sorry. Didn't want to confuse you. Thank you.
All right, so anybody would like to make a motion?
I move that we recommend the county attorney begin proceedings to rescind the abatement at the Trust Manufacturing location.
Is there a second? Thanks, Beth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I know there's that, I know it's, I don't know which one it is, I know there's a form that you have to sign, that the council takes action on, the president signs, that we rescind that, or if we would reduce it.
It's an SB1.
SB1 on it.
CF1.
The CF1. So it's the one that we normally approve the abatement on. And we take that same action on that side of it, and that rescinds, or we can decrease their abatements at any point when they're out of compliance. It'll be
You can also,
interesting.
if they weren't out of business, you could rescind it for 1 year and put it back on.
And put it back on.
And get it back in compliance.
The only other agenda item we have is the minutes from last month's meeting. I would like to make the motion that we, as well as we've done catching them up and clean that up, I would recommend that we table those for next meeting, just because someone really needs to help and take a look at those. I think there were 19 pages.
19 pages.
May I make a comment?
Yeah.
These are supposed to be minutes, and it looks like what has been expected is more seconds than minutes, an absolute court type of transcription rather than minutes. And I would prefer to go to a process where we're presenting minutes with the important information on them, but not a blow-by-blow, second-by-second, syllable-by-syllable translation or
It's like reading a book.
It is like reading a book. It's extremely expensive and time-consuming for
Overwhelming.
an overwhelming for a young person to take a tape that's difficult to hear and decipher. Additionally, it ties that person up so much that we can't utilize her skills and ability to do anything other than just prepare these minutes. So with your permission, I would like to propose that we go back to a much simpler presentation.
I agree.
I agree.
I think as long as if the discussion, the
Is
tone
relevant.
of it and the detail is important, that's fine.
Yes.
That's all we need. I don't
Yes.
know that the expectation is any more than that, so.
Well, I think it was a misinterpretation maybe of the expectation. And so this is probably her first attempt, and we'll clean that up and try to give you something that's more succinct and useful as a tool.
Maybe there should be some guidelines on,
Yes.
that would help. I think when I went to a meeting one time for county government, that they talked about guidelines,
I'm open to suggestions.
One possible suggestion might be to have the person in charge of those minutes from now on just maybe read Suzanne's last year's minutes.
Yes.
Just to get a flavor. 'Cause
Yes.
I think everybody's probably in agreement those are really good minutes, so.
Well, and they may have even been too much detail.
Yeah, but I think everyone's pretty satisfied with that, so.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yeah, no.
Okay, what I asked Jackie earlier during the meeting, I'm sorry for interrupting the meeting with that, was I wanted to make sure on that 911 that we didn't have to decrease those appropriations in 168, whatever that fund was. Anyway,
156.
When what?
156.
156, because I didn't want that to slip by this meeting, and then Suzanne and I both were sitting there talking, and Suzanne asked me about it, and I said, ask her. Well, what happened was when they created the new fund, they didn't even bring those appropriations over, so we didn't have to worry about that. And then second of all, I'd like to welcome Greg to our meeting.
I did one thing. And I don't brag about this, but there was one thing I should have put on the report for the council. Because it's something you need to consider right now before the auditor's office advertises budgets. At the beginning of the year 2013, you no longer will be putting your certified shares and your property tax, your CAGIT PTR money into the county general fund as revenue. It now has to be placed into a fund of its own and appropriated out of a fund of its own. So it's the new transparency thing, but I wanted to make you aware of that. You're gonna need to find the big ticket item that can come out of that certified shares fund. And it's to be appropriated there and no longer put in the county general, so.
And when does that start?
January,
For 13?
yeah, 2013 budget. In
What
this budget
kind of
cycle.
numbers we talking about?
$1 million?
You
Yeah.
always ask me these numbers.
Yes.
That's in there.
It's 200 and something.
Isn't it a million?
thousand dollars.
It's pretty close to $1 million between the two.
It was 203 or 208 or something like that.
Oh,
Something like
something
that.
The sheriff is 681 and the jail's about 6 something. So there's two big tickets. Dispatch is a little over
You know, so
5.
your group medical
I was
insurance
gonna say
and your
insurance.
find our big
Yeah,
ticket items.
I'd slide all that
But you
stuff
did.
over there. Yeah.
Yeah, the fringe benefits are a big ticket item that can go over there, but I did want to make you aware of that
I'm
because
glad you did it.
before we advertise, that needs to be determined for Greg, what you want to be switched out of those, probably commissioner's budget into the catch-up fund.
Yeah. Need more than that.
Well, it's all about transparency.
I have a motion to adjourn.
So
With that. Motion made and adjourned. That's all.
Commissioner's budget, $1.2 million. That's
The
all.
whole budget?
The whole budget.
Who seconded
Who
that?
seconded the
I can
motion?
tell you exactly what.
Well,
We have to have it.
I can tell you what this year.
Carolyn, did you second that adjournment?
What?
Was it you or Anthony that seconded it?
No, let me, who seconded the adjournment?
I'll go back.
I never think of
Thank you.
because I just.
I'll go back on vacation.
Yeah.